Okay, gang, so we're going to start the next section, section 4.7. It'll be our next module. And before we do, I want to try a couple of limits with you first, okay? Do you remember back in section 2.5 when we were doing the limits as x goes all the way out to the left and all the way out to the right? Remember we said we're looking for end behavior. The two special limits where x goes to positive infinity and x goes to negative infinity, okay? So I've got two of those right here, all right? And what I want to try to figure out is, just based on our experiences and what your senses are, what do you think the value of these two things are going to be as x goes out to infinity? Okay, in other words, x grows without bound. What's your sense as to how much this should be? Take a guess, see what you think. Mind you now, x is increasing without bound, so that means this denominator's getting big. This denominator's getting even bigger, right, because it's squared. Okay, you got exponents up here, to be sure. Based on your experiences, what's your sense? What do you think? Okay, I'm willing to bet you're thinking that the inside of the parentheses in either case is probably going to be going to 1, right? Going to 1 makes sense because x is getting large, so these two fractions are getting really, really small, right? So as x grows without bound, these two things are going to be going to 0. So on the inside of the parentheses, we would expect this. Okay? And then we've got 1 to the x, 1 to the x, and you know that old argument that 1 to any power is equal to 1. So you're probably thinking this is probably about it. 1 in both cases. All right, now here's what I did, gang. I used an Excel spreadsheet. I could have used a calculator, but I used a spreadsheet. So what difference does it make, right? So what I did was, remember how we used to evaluate limits in chapter 2 in the very beginning, right? We used to determine limits by using tables and graphs. So I used a spreadsheet and I made tables for both of these, okay? Here's what I came up with. Okay, so in both instances, I use the following values. Okay, so I'll just go straight across and make one big table. Okay. Okay, I know I'm using a lot of decimal places, but that's okay, right? Then when x is equal to 10, next number is this. And then over here, similarly, right? So continuing the table over here. Actually, this is... Okay, so what do you think about it now? Okay, notice that the larger that x gets, right over here, so x is growing without bound. What can you say about the corresponding values over here? So it looks like, and you should recognize this number right here, gang. What is this? Yeah, the natural number e. Good. So it looks like this limit is not actually going to 1 like we suspected. It's actually going to e, the natural number. And this one over here, which we also thought was going to 1, right? We suspected this limit was going to be 1. Turns out, this one we were right. But gang, look at the drastic difference in both limits though. Our experiences were both of those things should be going to 1 because notice that the expressions on the inside of the parentheses themselves were going to 1. But as it turns out, they were drastically different results, okay? What is it that you think made the difference? Yeah, looks like it was the square over here that drastically made the difference, okay? Gang, symbolically, what we have going on in both cases, right, symbolically, on the inside of the parentheses, you were right. All of you were right. The inside of the parentheses, they're going to 1. But the exponents are growing without bound, okay? This is one of those 7, or I'm sorry, well, we actually didn't mention it yet, but this is referred to as an indeterminate form, okay? It doesn't mean that the limit doesn't exist. It means that there's going to be some investigation that's necessary. But notice that in this case, the limit was equal to e, but in another case, the limit was equal to 1. That's why we refer to such a thing as an indeterminate form. There are 7 of them that we discussed in section 4.7, and we'll see all of those. I'll mention all of those, I think, gang, in a pencast, how to deal with all of those. And then I'll do some more videos like this where we'll actually pick some problems from the homework. Okay?